Hi, my name is Jim Moyle, and we're here to talk about App Attach again. This is a bit of a different one. You can see my face, and you can see Rory's lovely face as well. The reason why both of us are here is because we're going to talk about the integration of App Attach with Numecent Cloudpaging. Rory, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jim, and hey, everyone who's watching. Thanks for inviting me, Jim. So my name is Rory Monaghan, and I'm senior technologist at Numecent, and yeah, I've spent the guts of 20 years working in application packaging, application virtualization, desktop virtualization, just general application management and application delivery.
That's great. What is it specifically you do for Numecent, Rory?
Kind of a bit of everything. Like have seen you at multiple events throughout the year, so working events, a little bit of community outreach, obviously creating technical content like the app attach integration blog posts and videos that we had, which you kindly, I think you played at an event in Germany recently, so that was
I
pretty
did.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, put a lot of work into it, so I appreciate you getting it out there. But yeah, a lot of that kind of technical content stuff and jumping on um, some customer calls here and there and that kind of thing.
So I'm very familiar with Numecent, not just from the integration work we've done, but I've been following your product with a lot of interest ever since it really started, and I know a number of people at your organization. However, I'm not sure that everybody who's seeing this knows your products really well. Can you just give us a brief overview of exactly what it is that Numecent does?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone who's not familiar with us, we are Numecent. We were founded in 2012, and we specialize in helping our customers modernize the way they manage their Windows applications and application updates. And we do that by enabling customers to package their applications into our container format, which is called the Cloud Paging Application Container. You could then take those containers and deploy and manage them using a modern container orchestration solution. So we do have on-premises offering, but also have a cloud-native modern provisioning solution, container orchestration there as well, which is, I believe, what we're going to focus on today. And that's called Cloudpager. And one of the newer features of Cloudpager is our App Attach integration within App Attach for Azure Virtual Desktop.
Sounds great. So we've got a couple of live demos for you that Rory is going to be sorting out. Um, have you got? I think you've got a slide. Do you want to show off before we dive deep into the demos?
Yeah, so this is the only slide that we're going to show during this video today. And this is just to illustrate our application container format, the Cloud Paging application container. And what you can see on the left is just an illustration of that container. And essentially, we have what we call disposition layers. Now, this is different to, say, your application layers where you're putting your applications into virtual disks. These disposition layers are more like layers of isolation within the application container. And they range from anywhere from layer 4, which would essentially be running the application or a component of the application fully isolated or fully virtualized. And that's really powerful and great for, say, maybe if you have like a legacy runtime or middleware that an application that's critical to your organization requires, but you maybe don't want to have that exposed widely across your organization for security reasons. Well, putting that into layer 4 reduces that surface layer for attack by obfuscating or isolating that middleware or runtime component. Layer 4 is also excellent for, say, if you have a legacy application and maybe it's reliant on an obsolete component that's no longer there, say in Windows 11. You could potentially take that obsolete component, put it into your application container, and have it run as layer 4. That way, it's not going to conflict with, say, a newer version of that component that's on Windows 11. Integrated disposition layer, layer 3. So this would be what we call kind of a good default layer. This allows that application to interact with other applications. It gives it enough visibility of the local system, essentially to allow the application to have a pretty high rate of compatibility and a good chance of working just out of the gate. Also pretty unique in terms of container products and virtualization products. we have our install disposition layers, layer one and layer two. And this essentially means you're able to deliver your application dynamically using our container, but those components are the entire application, can be just as though it's installed without any isolation applied. So, if you've used a traditional application virtualization solution in the past, and maybe you hit a ceiling in terms of compatibility, because the isolation was just too rigid, things like COM plus component services, drivers, certain Windows services, low-level components maybe just never worked in those different solutions. They will work in this container because of how granular the isolation is within the container format itself. And I know we have a joint customer, Waterman. They did a really great case study with us. They're using our container solution within their Azure virtual desktops, and they reached a 98% success rate of packaging their applications into our container and deploying to their Azure virtual desktops. So let's go ahead and go through uploading and publishing a completed application container to Cloudpager and walk through the integration with App Attach for Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay, so here I am on my file share. I've got our completed application. So the process for uploading and publishing this application into Cloudpager, which you can see here, is very straightforward. So this is Cloudpager. This is what it looks like. I've got several different applications already published. I've got my cloud paging application containers. I've got AppV packages, and I've also got MSIX containers in here too. So we do support various formats. But I'm going to take my cloud paging application container that we just packaged and upload it here. So I could just drag and drop that. You can actually do multiple applications at once if you want to, and it'll just queue those up for upload, and then you can modify the application information while the upload is in progress. So this is a small application. It's going to be pretty quick. It's already completed, actually, I think. There we go. Optionally, if you'd like to, you could fill in unit cost and application cost for tracking purposes. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. You can categorize your applications to find them easier. And you can set a short description. So, for example, like 7-zip supports many compressed file formats. Okay. And I don't think we'll show it in the demonstration today because I have a pretty new tenant here that we're using. I don't think I've launched these applications before, but there is this feature for our cloud paging application containers that'll increase the performance of the applications. So it essentially optimizes the launch performance of some of your applications. And the best thing about it is the way it works. The first time someone launches an application, say maybe someone doing your user acceptance testing, our client is going to analyze the application launch and detect the pattern of that launch, and then have that pattern synced back to your Cloudpager tenant. So when subsequent employees go to launch the application for the first time, they'll actually have an optimized, faster experience. And what's really cool is we use machine learning to essentially keep analyzing subsequent launches by more employees and refining that launch performance over time to make it even better. But let's go ahead and publish this application. So most actions an admin takes in Cloudpager, you'll get prompted for a comment, and these comments are kept for audit tracking purposes. So let me go ahead and we'll just do something pretty straightforward like publish 7-zip. Okay, so that application has been published. And I alluded to it, but we do have audit logs. So any actions, including even like logins to Cloudpager, are being tracked for audit log purposes, and you can export those audit logs and ingest them into your security solutions if you'd like. But let's go ahead and deploy these applications to Azure Virtual Desktop App Attach. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a storefront by clicking Add Storefront. We have two different options. We have a cloud paging storefront, which is like a self-service web portal that you can publish your applications to. So employees can just go and get a curated list of applications and grab them for themselves. But we also have this App Attach storefront. We'll choose App Attach for this demo. I'll click Continue. Let's maybe call this our contractors storefront, and this will be a set of applications required by our contractors. Cool. So at this point, I can input a subscription ID. So this is a subscription ID from an Azure tenant. So I'm going to go ahead and just populate this field. And once I do, you'll see the drop down for the resource group becomes auto-populated. So these are the resource groups that are associated with that subscription ID. And if I select a resource group, we can see the host pools that are within that resource group become populated too. I'm just going to start with one, which is my Windows 11 here, and I will go and add my applications. So we'll start and we'll add the application that we just packaged, but let's add some other applications too. We'll add Chrome, we'll add fuzzy lookup because that is a pretty simple example of an Excel add-in. We'll add Reader, and let's also add Bloomberg Terminal. Okay, and with that said, I'm ready to publish, but before I do, I'm just going to go over to my Azure tenant just to show you. If I go to App Attach, I should have some applications in here already. Like I already see I have a Chrome in there, but that's North Central US. This one's going to be North EU. But let's go ahead and publish this now. New contractors storefront. Okay, so what's going to happen is this storefront is going to be created. And those applications that we selected, those application containers that are cloud paging applications, will become available via the App Attach UI. So if I go back to the console here and I click refresh, just like that, we can see those applications are now available within App Attach for Azure Virtual Desktop. And at this point, I could do things like, for example, maybe this Chrome. If I want to make it available across another host pool, it's pretty simple. I could go ahead and go to assign and then add an additional host pool. I can also make this application available using the Azure Entra ID entitlement. So within this actual familiar App Attach UI that my administrators are perhaps already using, they can go and add users and perhaps assign via a Azure Entra ID group. So I've got this temp contractors group, and I'm going to assign it or assign that group to all these applications that we just published. So I'm going to speed along now, and I'll do the rest of these applications. So let's go ahead and add the same group. Okay, so all those applications should now be assigned. Uh, I've just assigned them to the single host pool, which is my Windows 11 multi-session Azure Virtual Desktop, and I've also assigned it to my contractors group. I could have assigned it to multiple host pools, but for this demo, I'm just going to keep it to my Windows 11 desktop. And let's go see what the employee experience is like now. Okay, I'm going to launch the lovely looking Windows app here, and I will go into my Windows 11 multi-session desktop as myself, and I am a member of that temp contractors Azure Entra ID group. Okay, it's logging in the desktop, and now the tricky part is the deployments. It's so quick that uh, I didn't have time to open the client to show you the applications were actually being dynamically delivered in because they're already there. But they're already there. Let's go ahead and launch some of the applications. So, Reader was one of those applications. You could see Reader is working. View a PDF. What more do you expect? Uh, let's we'll still open the player, even though we missed the applications kind of filing in here. But Cloud Paging Player is our client software, and you can actually run this headerless mode. So what employees might experience is exactly what we saw, where the desktop launches and the applications are just available, and the employees see the desktop shortcuts and the start menu shortcuts, and they just start using their applications. They don't know how those applications are getting there. But they are being delivered using our cloud paging application containers, and it's all integrated within App Attach for Azure Virtual Desktop. Employees could, if they want, go and launch applications from here. So, for example, we could right click and launch the application. But chances are in Azure Virtual Desktop, they're probably just going to launch from the start menu. So, for example, our 7-zip application is here in the start menu, and you can see I launch it. It is running as that container. Now, the reason I picked 7-zip was not just because it's a small application. I wanted to show that this is a fully rich application experience with this container. I do have a zip file here, and if I right click on the zip file, go to show more options, the context menu is working. I didn't have to do anything extra to get that to work. It was just a straightforward process of capturing the installation, and it's working. So for example, I could maybe do extract here. It's going to extract that. Maybe I go back in and I'll open the archive, and we'll see that it is doing that within the containerized version of 7-zip. Also, I have Chrome, which is like a reasonably sized application, launches pretty quick. Maybe we'll go to numecent.com to show that it is a functioning browser. Okay. We also have fuzzy lookup, which I picked because this is an Excel add-in and is actually something someone asked us about at EUC Forum in 2024. So I have an Azure image from the Azure Compute Gallery. So it's pretty standard other than it has our client software installed. And it did come with Office 365 pre-installed. So this is a locally installed Office that just comes within the actual desktop image. And this is a containerized version of an Office add-in. Now, if I launch Excel, again, locally installed Excel, and go into, say, our workbook, we can see that the add-in appears within that locally installed Office. So no hoops to jump through. If you have Office add-ins, those applications are going to work. We also have a rather large application, Bloomberg Terminal here. I'll launch this. Okay, and there's Bloomberg Terminal, a rather large application. And I didn't have to go installing this into my Azure Virtual Desktop image. All that is in my desktop image is what comes by default within that Azure Virtual Desktop image in the uh, Azure Compute Gallery, plus our client software. And then these applications are delivered dynamically as containers. And like I said earlier, virtually any Windows application will work in our container format. So you're able to get that kind of nirvana state of like a single solution to dynamically deploy your applications to your Azure virtual desktops, your Windows 365 cloud PCs, and even to physical endpoints too. But yeah, that's the demonstration for today. I would say what I didn't show is we also integrate with your remote app as well. And we do have another video that I think Jim will kindly share where it goes through showing that remote app use case and how that looks for your employees and administrators too. And also, the other video does show our prefetch capabilities for improving the performance and the launch times of those applications too. So definitely check out the other video too.
Thanks for that, Rory. That was a great demo. I've got a couple of questions for you, if that's all right, Rory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while I'm looking at that, I see you created your STL files, which are the native format for Cloudpager. Where are those stored? If somebody's integrating with Azure Virtual Desktop, do they need to create storage within their subscription? What would that look like?
Well, that's actually a great question, and it's really, really flexible too. So by default, if you're just to use Cloudpager as it is, your default configuration, when you upload the STPs to Cloudpager, it'll be stored within our CDN. So we have our own CDN, and those applications will be stored there. But we also have various different options, like you can create what's called a pre-cache. So for example, if you did want to maybe just put say, an extra drive on your Azure virtual desktops and have the applications live within that extra drive. You could do that and have them just paging locally, or we also have a multi-location setting. So if you wanted to put it on, say, Azure files or Azure NetApp files, put those application containers there. You can have the desktops just look out to those file shares and grab them from there.
Yeah, sorry I said STL, not STP. Got 3D printed on the brain.
That's okay.
Um, yeah, no, that's really interesting, especially that you can do that multiple location, I presume for DR and those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually it's really cool as well from a DR perspective because say for example, if you're maybe using Azure NetApp files, but then something happens and the service goes down or there's no good connection back to that file share, it can fail over and use our CDN then. So you've got that extra resilience.
That was great. I think that's everything for today. I really appreciate you coming along and showing off the integration that Microsoft and Numecent have been working on together and showing off the product as well. So thanks very much for your time, Rory.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Yeah, and I'm excited to see how we can work together again in the future and how we're going to improve the solution even more going forward.
Yeah, we got some nice plans, everybody. So watch this space for future stuff. Thanks, everybody.